be able to see this chart or not. All these pictures are from my operation where I redfish landing. So all the pictures are basically taken off my dock. But it'll still show you how to set up the system to where when you go to a new area, you can anchor out in the deeper water on low tide, take your binoculars with you, okay? Then you can kind of set up and make a little map. This is going to be stuff that's not going to be on the GPS. You won't see it on a chart. Just little things that are going to make the difference. Just like right here, I want to show you. Right here is what we're going to look. What I look for first is what we call pinch points. Right here is a pinch point. There's oysters here. You've got this trough here. Then you got the sandbar on the outside. The main river flow is here. You're going to have a little bit of a water flow here. So what I'm looking for, that's going to pinch. As this tide is dropping down, it's going to, once it gets down low on this bar, it's going to flush all this bait right through here. These fish are going to be laying on the outside on an outgoing tide. On an incoming tide, they're going to be laying up in here. Because that's a pinch point. On the incoming tide, that tide's going to flush this bait and push it around the corner. And they're going to be laying right in the eddy, right outside of that tide. Now, if it's deeper water, they're going to be laying on the bottom behind rocks or whatever. But this shallow water, they're going to be laying behind these eddies and look for those pinch points. Now, this is the same. This is the same area at high tide. If you go there, you know there's oysters here. There's a main flow out here at the edge of a sandbar. So that'll help you. That'll narrow down all this open water out here. That you'll want to concentrate on those points first. Not saying there's not going to be fish out here. There will, but they're going to be mostly moving fish. Feeding fish are going to be laying in. Most of them are ambush predators. They're going to be laying in zones and in zones where the bait's going to be. So they're going to be located in structure. You want to go down and hit this point here. You want to hit this dock. But first I would do is fish this outside sandbar right here before I come in. And what I'm going to show you too is now we're going to set this up basically. Go back to the first one. This first area, I don't know if we'll be able to see it with this red. Okay, so that's going to be over here to the left. So we've got our pinch point here. There's your sandbar. Okay, so we put our chart together. Here's oysters here. So this is our pinch point, right there. Can y'all see that okay with the lights on?
Yes. Yeah.
Everybody see that?
Yeah.
This same area with high tide. Okay. This is another area. Okay. This is actually over here. And I'll go ahead and tell you that's Goat Island. This right here is Goat Island. Okay. I'm on the south side of the river. That's where I'm at. Right here you want to. So you're looking here at low tide, here's a crab trap. Okay, you're going to see those anyway because the floats are there. But on a tide, when the tide's flowing, don't pass up a crab trap. Okay, especially if you see those guys have been through there within 30 minutes or so, they put fresh bait in there. Crabs aren't the only thing that eats that bait. Okay, you're going to have on the tidal flow, you're going to have bait fish come behind there eating that bait out of the crab trap. And they're going to nest up behind that crab trap and the water flow below it. And behind those, you'll have predators come in and attack those bait fish. So I'll cast around these. Also here, we've got a point here with oysters. Then you can see, I don't know if you can see it or not, but you can see there's a current flow right here. Okay, so that's the outside edge of a sandbar. That's the same sandbar that we saw over here. So this outside edge of a sandbar there. Over here, like I said, this is why you want to bring binoculars. Right here, that's an oyster bar completely exposed. Back in here, there's water right there. Even at low tide, extreme low tide, there's water in this trough back here. So what you want to do is you can anchor in the deeper water and fish it until until the tide comes in. I love the winter tide. I love a low incoming tide. It's what I love to fish when the incoming tide is low, say like from daylight to 7 or 8 o'clock. So that means that tide, I'm not going to get on the water till 10 o'clock in the morning. So that tide is going to be coming in, and it's going to be increasing between 10 and noon is when that tide's going to be coming up on the flat, which is when those fish are going to be moving up on the flat out of this hole. That's when they're going to start moving. The sun's going to be able to warm this bottom up. Same area at high tide. Again, read the bottom, find out where your oyster bar here. So when you go back, you know that oyster bar is there. So you can ease up there and target the edge of that oyster bar. Another thing I will do is, as soon as the water gets in enough, let's go back. As soon as the water gets to where I can go across this with my boat and pull back in here, I'm going to go back here and hit this right back here. The reason being, it's southern exposure. In the wintertime, you want to look for southern exposure and dark bottom. Okay? And that's what this trough is going to have, is muddy water back there, dark bottom, that's going to hold heat. That'll be anywhere from 3 to 5 degrees warmer than the area around it. Those redfish will ease in. This trough comes from this way and from this way. Those redfish will ease in and lay back in there and try to warm up. Okay? It's just like you getting cold in the wintertime and you go and grab a blanket out of the dryer and put it on. That's just what they did. They're going back in there and warm up. Now, this area is in between these 2 points. Right here. Okay, so you got high tide. Where would you start? So you want to know where to start at. Where should I put my first cast?
Good point.
This shows you what the bottom looks like. You got oysters here. There's a little bit of grass here in this trough. Right here, that's the edge of this sandbar. You can see a little bit of a current there. So low tide, this is actually a hole about 5 or 6 foot deep. So what I'm going to do, if I go out while I'm waiting for this tide to start coming in, I'm going to sit in this hole on the outside, not in it. But I'm going to sit close to this hole, and that's where I'm going to fish until that tide changes, because all those fish are going to be huddled down in the bottom of that. So this is the sandbar here coming down, and it goes past, it actually goes out this way, and this sandbar comes over here like this, from this way. Just a little bit deeper here, but right here, that's the hole. And what I'll do, I'm going to anchor, according to the tide, which way the tide's going. But if I'm going to fish this hole, I'm either going to anchor above it or kind of above it to the side. Normally, right here is going to be my first anchor point. Whether I'm fishing with live bait or lures, doesn't matter. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to start, if the tide is going out, okay, we've got an outward flow. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to cast my lure or bait right up in this area and let it flow down. The tide will take it as you work it. It'll drop down, okay? I do this with flies too. We cast them upstream, let the line sink, and work it around. So what you'll do is, if you'll work it there, these points, work it here, okay, next cast, drop it down about 5 foot. Work it here, next cast, drop it down about 5 foot. Work it here. As you get down this way, a lot of times where you're going to get your hit is where it comes downstream and turns. Okay, when that thing, you're working it across stream, one thing I want to point out, one reason I do it this way is because these fish are facing the current. Okay, so if I anchor down here and cast up here, I may be coming across one of them. Okay, same thing. If I anchor up here, throw down here, and come back, I may be coming across one of them. Maybe. If I'll take my time, if 5-foot increments, and I'll make 2 or 3 casts at that same point. Ease it down. You're going to come across every fish that's laying in that current. So what happens to your odds? The more the lure's in front of the fish, the more your odds are going to go up. But the key with fishing in salt water too is you want to keep that lure, you want that in front of the fish's face just as long as you can possibly keep it there. Because if he's not eating, that'll make him eat. And if he is eating, he's going to grab it anyway. Okay, so that gives us a chart area. And we know when we come into this area next time, even if it's high tide, we know what areas to target first and what points to hit. And like I said, this is, it's self-explanatory. You don't know what's the bottom made of, mud, oysters, whatever. Okay, now you do. And if you can just take a sheet of paper and make some notes, doesn't matter. If you can make notes on a chart or just put like a number 1, number oyster bars, put relative numbers. So you can put a number on your chart without having to write oyster bar. And then have a ledger to where it's a sandbar, it's an oyster bar, related to those numbers or letters. This is that same area over here, standing on my dock looking out there. Again, now here you can see that sandbar, you can see that better. That's a sandbar. This is the deeper area of water here. That's the flow there, it's the oyster bar. Back in here you can see there's water back in there, even at this low tide. So again, that's black bottom. You want to look for black bottom, that's where those fish are going to go as soon as they can get in there. Okay, and this is the next thing I want to talk about too, but see, that's birds right there. Okay? Not only pay attention to offshore birds, pay attention to inshore birds. They will be a better fish finder than you could ever put on your boat. This is looking back. Say my dock's right here. Okay? And this is looking almost, not quite. There's an island here. That's it. Here. That's this area down here. That area right there is showing from here to over here. I don't quite have Mark's house in this picture. So you're trying to figure out, you come into a new area, you don't know where to start. Show you exactly where to go. You can get in there on low tide, look at it. A lot of guys I know go out and skate around with a Ginu or a kayak at low tide and go back with their big boat to high tide because then they know how to do it. They know where to go. They know where to stay. You see there's a flow here. You've got an oyster bar here coming off the end of this island. So what I want to do is you can tell that's deeper water right here next to these mangroves. Now what I would do is wait for this later in the day because this is a northern exposure. But whenever you go there, you'll know where the trough is at. Now when you go back, you know where it's at. You know where to concentrate. So you know that trough is running right next to this island and comes right by my dock. Okay, it's kind of shallow here. And Art can tell you, I'll stand on my dock or outgoing tide and cast right here. Catch speckled trout, redfish, snook. Cast on my neighbor's dock right here. Catch snook, redfish. But I'm fishing the edge of that trough is where I'm fishing, and that's where I'm mainly going to get them, right there on that trough when they're waiting. There's that point right there. Fishing the edge of that trough. That gives you, it gives you that area. Even though you don't know on high tide, if you can look at it at low tide, you can figure these areas out. Even if they're new to you, this is the best time of year going into the fall and winter. Just pay attention to the tides though, because these are negative tides. Don't get caught. You don't want to get stuck on something on a